Welcome on into the Fantasy Football Forge. My name is Steve, as always, and we are going to be going through the running backs here for week 1 of the NFL and fantasy football season. So obviously super exciting. Thank you for joining me, and I would like to let you know if you are new here, I do a couple things here. So fade them, love them will be involved. You will see the love them will be highlighted in green, fades in red. For the most part, I try to take risks. I try to take guys who you're probably going to be starting for the fades, or at least are very much possibilities to be starting. And for the loves, I don't usually choose a guy like James Cook, who is almost certainly going to be starting for you this week. But I guess I did this week. Sometimes I take gimmies, but usually I try not to take gimmies. So that is my promise to you. So my expectation from you is to just understand that. You know, I'm not trying to make it easy on myself. I'm often trying to make it hard on myself. And so when I go 0 for 3 on the wide receivers or something for my loves, give me a little bit of a break. All right. Other announcements. I will be going live on Thursdays before the game, an hour and a half prior to the game. On Saturdays, I think 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time seems to be where I'm landing on. We'll see if I need to go a little bit earlier than that or later. And then on Sunday mornings, 2 hours prior to kickoff. Obviously, as the schedule starts to get a little bit wacky with holidays, things might, I will, post different schedules for those weeks, let you know, keep you updated. And with that, wide receiver video already came out, so check that out. Quarterbacks tight end video will be coming out tomorrow morning. This should be coming out Wednesday evening, and I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday evening. Hump day. Let's get on to the running backs. I think that's good enough for announcements. We're going to start off with my first tier here. Hopefully you weren't cheating too much there. Usually this is how we'll start it off. Oh, you know what I forgot to tell you? If you're new here, I do projections in the off season. Once we get past week 3, once we get 3 weeks worth of data, I start to feel comfortable, at least that's enough data in a short season for us to have to work with to give you expected ranges. So the look of this video, the look of the information I'm providing you will change come week 4. But for now, we're going in naked. We're using the Las Vegas lines. That actually does get included a little bit with my projections in a sense too. But we're using the Las Vegas lines. We're using the preseason rankings here heavily in week 1, etc. But yeah, that's enough about that. Let's look at my rankings here. Saquon Barkley, my running back 1 this week, going up against Green Bay. It's a good matchup. I like it a lot. It's better than the Christian McCaffrey matchup against the Jets, I assume. So good news for Christian McCaffrey, though. Maybe enough good news to bring him back up to running back 1 this week. Actually, probably is. Let's just do that. Is Trent Williams. You know what I didn't do, if you were paying attention in my wide receiver video? I got to go back. I got to remember to do this and move Jamar Chase back a couple of spots. I forgot to do that at the end of that video. So, McCaffrey, good news this morning. Hopefully, it's verified. I guess I don't know for sure 100% that it's been verified, but it was reported that Trent Williams will be back there at left tackle for San Francisco. Huge. All right, so my 1, my 2, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, and not too far behind this week is James Cook, because they're going up against Arizona. Very excited about that matchup, and that is what's earned him one of my 2 love spots for the running back position here in week 1. That's followed by Devon Achane going up against Jacksonville. Talked about that plenty in the wide receiver video. I'm overall optimistic about this game being a game where points will be scored, especially by the Miami side. But also, I think there's a chance that Jacksonville could push them to have to score even more to win that game. Bijan Robinson going up against Pittsburgh. It's Bijan Robinson. We're starting him, right? Jonathan Taylor going up against Houston is solid. Hopefully match up for him. Nothing too scary, I don't think, about the Houston run defense, if I recall correctly. Maybe average, But yeah, you're starting him. Jahmyr Gibbs, you're starting him. Going up against Los Angeles Rams, definite upside there. Breece Hall, you're starting him. Going up against San Francisco, there's a reason that he's at the bottom of this tier. That is one of the tougher matchups, or has been. So we'll see this year. But to start off with, not the best matchup for Breece Hall. That's going to bring us on to this next tier from wide running back 9 through 19, where we do have a fade in here. Let's start off with my running back 9, Rachaad White, going up against Washington. Not too afraid of that, so pretty excited about that week 1. Definitely not going to be planning on sitting him, nor would I plan on sitting Josh Jacobs or Travis Etienne. Going up against Philadelphia, going up against Miami for Etienne. Raheem Mostert going up against Jacksonville. Once again, optimistic about this, especially from the Miami side. And if Jacksonville's offense isn't clicking, all the more reason to like these Miami running backs. And that's definitely in the range of possibilities for Jacksonville's offense this week against Miami's defense, which should be improved from last year. Week 1, we'll see big philosophical change there in Miami, but I think one that matches the talent of especially their secondary players a lot more in Miami. And as far as that's all that matters for that. Kyren Williams here. He's a fade for me this week. Going up against Detroit, one of the better run defenses last season. I don't know that changes too much this year. So, yeah, I'm a little bit hesitant. My expectations are lowered for Kyren Williams. This is one of those things where you're probably starting him unless you have a hunch on somebody that you like, that you are willing to sit him. But just be concerned about this upside here this week for Kyren Williams. And with that being said, maybe if you are playing Kyren Williams, this is where if you have 2 quarterbacks that you're debating between, take the guy with the higher ceiling, take the Jacksonville, take the chance on Trevor Lawrence week 1, just having a huge game trying to keep up with Miami, or take advantage of Miami going up against Jacksonville on the other side. Tua, hope that he passes a bunch of those balls into the end zone, and that Jacksonville pushes them to keep passing the ball. Take a little bit of risk maybe on some upside if you're playing Kyren Williams. Kenneth Walker, going up against Denver, I believe one of the their season-long rushing stats are different than what they actually did on the field, but I can't recall exactly how good they were against the run down the stretch, but I know better than their season-long stats would look like. Isaiah Pacheco going up against Baltimore. I just think more passing. I'm not overly excited about Isaiah Pacheco in this matchup, but just as excited too as I will be most weeks. I mean, he's always a good play. Alvin Kamara going up against Carolina there. I think there's some reason for optimism there. David Montgomery, I think there's some reason for optimism there against the Los Angeles Rams. Derrick Henry, upside matchup in terms of scoring and everything going on, and I do not believe that they'll have any kind of reins on Derrick Henry in week 1. He'll probably get a lot of usage. In fact, I should probably put Derrick Henry higher. Give me one moment. You know what? I think that this could surprisingly be a game of attrition. I think that the final score of this game could be lower than our expectations are, as Kansas City takes advantage of, like I said, the matchup of Rashee Rice strugggles to get the ball deep to a Xavier Worthy, and ends up having to run the ball and get the ball into Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce's hands a lot, dinking and dunking the ball down the field, you could say. And I think Baltimore would be happy to get into that kind of battle with Derrick Henry running the ball and just feeding him. So I am actually going to move this up, up to ahead of Josh Jacobs. I'll have to double check on that Philadelphia run defense. I want to say there's got to be some pause for a little bit of concern there. So we're going to move Derrick Henry way up here for the running backs. I hadn't scoured through the running backs in recent time, and yeah, that stood out to me. So Derrick Henry, now my running back 10. Everybody else moved back here a little bit. And to finish this tier off, we've got James Conner going up against Buffalo. James Conner, one of those guys who's always going to be just like Pacheco. I mean, tough to sit. You're not always going to be super excited about starting them either, but also they'll probably come through for you most weeks. That's the kind of player that you're looking at there. That's going to bring us on to this next tier which is just a little tier here with Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, Zamir White, and Joe Mixon. So Aaron Jones going up against the New York Giants. Yeah, week 1, reason to be optimistic here. The reason he just misses out is concern for touchdown. This is the whole reason that he was, not too high in my rankings and probably not too high in a lot of people's rankings as compared to maybe where they could have gotten him ranked. New York Giants, it's a good matchup, but still, I don't know how excited I am about this Minnesota offense or defense, for that matter. So, that's just what holds Aaron Jones back, and will until we see something from that Minnesota offense to be confident in it, even in a rough or a good matchup. DeAndre Swift going up against Tennessee. We're not afraid of too much, right? It's just a matter of figuring out the Chicago offense. Zamir White going up against Los Angeles Chargers. I think that this should be a good matchup. I don't think the Chargers will run away against too many teams this year. And so this is a nice situation for Zamir White. I like it. Joe Mixon going up against, and if it wasn't clear, Zamir White's a love for me this week. Joe Mixon going up against Indianapolis. Did Indianapolis lose their run stuff? Regardless, Joe Mixon, another guy who, being with Houston, touchdown upside is going to be there every week because of that offense. So he's always going to be a solid enough start. That's going to bring us on to this next tier here. Another small one. Chase Brown, Brian Robinson Jr., Zach Moss, Javonte Williams. Chase Brown going up against New England. So there is some passing upside there, I think, for him, which is ultimately why I liked him more than Zach Moss in this matchup. I think even, down the stretch when you're trying to run clock, you could see the ball getting passed short to the running back instead of trying to run the ball against this New England defense. New England's defense did lose a couple of pieces. I don't know, does that hurt them so much that now their rushing defense isn't a concern? Does their defense take a big enough step back that it's not what it's been? I don't know yet, but I'm not willing to bet against a New England defense yet. They've been very consistently good for a couple of decades now. Brian Robinson Jr. going up against Tampa Bay. Like that matchup, excited about it. Just not overly excited about the Washington offense, especially week 1. Wait and see a little bit before we move them too far up on the rankings. And Javonte Williams. I think there's a little bit of reason for upside here. I might even move him up ahead of Zach Moss. Why don't we do that? So there, that was, I've done that. That's going to bring us on to this next tier, which goes from my running back 28 to 37. So getting into, outside of my RB2 territory here with Tony Pollard starting that off against Chicago. Just wait and see on this Tennessee offense and everything there. That's not getting too excited about it. Najee Harris is a fade for me going up against Atlanta. I should have gathered some statistic on that Atlanta run defense, but they were one of the best, if not the best, running defense in the league last year, and I do expect that to kind of continue to some extent. Statistically, maybe not quite the same because games will be higher scoring there in every sense, at least statistically, but I still expect them to be pretty stout against the run. J.K. Dobbins going up against Las Vegas. It is what it is. I'm starting off with week 1, I'm excited about the potential of J.K. Dobbins from Andre Stevenson. Always going to be nervous about that in that offense going up against Cincinnati, though, so not the worst matchup to kick things off with. Devin Singletary, same thing, not the worst matchup to kick things off with for these guys, so maybe it'll be their week. Jerome Ford going up against Las Vegas, probably a little bit of a tough. I don't love that. Jerome Ford is definitely not with the Los Angeles Chargers, though. He is with Cleveland. I don't know what that's about. Who's Cleveland facing? It looks like I made a switch here because now I got Gus Edwards with the Los Angeles Chargers. So I must have switched something without having everything up. Whatever. It happened. So Los Angeles versus Las Vegas. There we go. So Jerome Ford going up against Dallas. Not fantastic. Yeah, we'll keep him right here. It still works out for me. Jaylen Warren, once again, tough run defense. Chuba Hubbard, tough run defense. Not too excited about that week 1 for Chuba, but he is a starter. Austin Eckler going up against Tampa Bay, so receiving upside, full PPR. I would move him up ahead of maybe even maybe Najee Harris up to like wide receiver 29, running back 29, full PPR, maybe. It's a risk, He'd be like more in a Love territory there of boom potential against Tampa Bay. Tyjae Spears going against Chicago, the other half of Tony Pollard. We'll see how that works out. A little thin tier right behind that, Gus Edwards, Ezekiel Elliott. They're going to get some work. Floor there, ceiling, I don't know about the ceiling. Antonio Gibson, full PPR especially, but expect him to have a role here. Going up against Cincinnati, not the most threatening run, actually might be a bad run defense, so that works in favor there for him. Same with Ramondre, I suppose. I might have undersold that a little bit. Tyler Algier, Blake Corum, Justice Hill, Jaleel McLaughlin to finish off my rankings. Justice Hill is going to get some work here early in the season. I know he wasn't really getting drafted, and I don't know that he needed to get drafted, but he is going to have some fantasy points each week here until Baltimore gets their second-year running back. All right, that is it for my running back rankings. Quarterback, tight end rankings will be coming out tomorrow. Thank you for joining me. Let me know what you agree with, disagree with down in the comments. It always helps. And if you have any questions, start seeing questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. But remember, more so, I would like you to come visit me when I'm live. If you can't, then ask in the comments. But on Thursday, 1.5 hours before kickoff. So I'm live a lot. So there are plenty enough that you should be able to hopefully come one of these times. Saturday, starting at 6:30, going until the party don't stop till I drop, And then Sunday morning, 2 hours prior to kickoff, I will be here for your hungover behinds. All right. Thank you very much for tuning on in. Peace out.